Continued from the previous file, Chapter Riders to the Sea, Questions and Answers, page 11. With a glory and grandeur, this heightening of common life is poetic. In the sad but glorious end of Maurya's life, there is a sense of upliftment, of enlargement of consciousness, which is the peculiar effect of poetry. Lastly, though the play is written in prose, it is not a prose that is far removed from poetry. It has the rhythm and cadence of poetry, a poetry springing from the natural idiom of the humble and rustic language. It is simple, direct, and yet impressive, like the simple speeches that Shakespeare has often put in the mouth of his tragic characters in their tensest and most emotional moods. The speech of Maurya, with which the drama concludes, contains the soul of poetic simplicity and rhythm. Riders to the Sea is a poetic play because it is rich in imaginative qualities. It depicts the basic emotions of mankind and has something of the simplicity and depth of much Greek drama and of the Scottish ballads, where conditions of the essential conflict are known and accepted as an aspect of the human situation. The play is based on the idiom of a rural people whose speech is naturally poetic, both in imagery and rhythm. Its symbols and imagery raise the local play to poetic level. It highlights the essential and archetypal conflict between man and fate. Maurya is the age-old symbol of man's resolute surrender to fate. Horse, red mare, and grey pony are archetypal symbols of strength, power, and death. There are reverberating suggestions of coming disaster through ironies and symbols. Its suggestive language of omens and imagery extend the mind from emotion to emotion, from idea to idea, and invest the play with poetic qualities and universal significance. Question 4. The poetic drama, like the symphony, should rather aim at creating an atmosphere than record a clash of wills. How far would such a judgment cover a drama like Riders to the Sea? Answer. In the sentence quoted above, a poetic drama has been compared to a musical composition like symphony that produces out of the mixture of various and discordant notes a final harmony, which is the prevailing impression of the piece. A poetic dramatist is like Browning's apt Vogler, a musician who in his musical extemporizing is carried away by ecstasy out of the bounds of a particular environment and creates out of a confused medley of sounds, quote, a star of the eternal sky, unquote. Thus, in a drama, though it is a seeming confusion of sounds, there is a definite theme, a harmony running through. This is what is called the atmosphere or tone of the play. Every great drama is thus an, quote, atmospheric piece, unquote, and its, page 12. Final impression is one and simple. Thus, in a comedy, the tone is light and gay, while in a tragedy it is serious and sad. Comedy therefore excites our laughter, while tragedy brings tears. Thus, the creation of an atmosphere that diffuses over the whole play and produces the ultimate impression is the main concern of the dramatist. It is also the test of the dramatist's imaginative powers. Shakespeare is adept in this art of creating and diffusing a definite atmosphere and giving a tonal effect to it. Thus, Macbeth is with suggestions of the spirit of the desolate heaths and castles of the north, and the fierce and weird spirits of the Celtic legends. Or Hamlet is steeped in the gloom, somberness and mystery of the Norse legends. Synge in the Riders to the Sea has recaptured and reproduced with an imaginative subtlety the atmosphere of the Aran Islands in which the action of the play is laid. Living among those peasant folk, he saturated himself fully with the color and atmosphere of the life of these primitive folk, and the result is the perfect local color that he has imparted to this tragedy. He observed their customs, manners, beliefs, superstitions, struggles, patience, fatalism, resignation, and thousands other things. And all these he has woven into the texture of the play, which is a fine atmosphere piece. In reading the play, we are transported to the bleak and rugged island. We seem to hear the wash of the sea water that is ever, quote, soaring hungrily to its toll of human lives, unquote. This sea is like a monster that has devoured all the members of the family of Maurya, enacting and completing a domestic tragedy in a fisherman's cottage. The islanders have developed an uncanny knowledge of the sea in all moods. The barren rocks are the vast, gloomy motherlands, contribute further to the gloomy and desolate atmosphere that pervades the play. It is in one of the rocks that Bali, the last surviving son of Maurya, was kicked off by the Red Mare and hurled to his watery grave. Besides, references to customs and faiths which are peculiar to the primitive islanders help a lot in the creation of the atmosphere of gloom and mystery. These people are superstitious to a degree and believe in omens, phantoms, and visions. The play opens in an atmosphere of gloom and suspense caused by the drowning of Michael 9 days ago. No trace of his dead body have been found. The poor mother lies prostrate with grief. It adds to her sorrow that Michael could not be given a burial with its attendant rites of, quote, keening, unquote, and other such things. When Bali is about to go to the fair in the mainland to sell his horse, the mother tries to dissuade him from crossing the, page 13, stormy sea, for she had seen the moon at night with a star close to it, which is ominous. And when Bartley has gone out on his fatal journey, the tottering mother, who had forgotten to give the son bread and blessing, goes out to bless the boy rather too late. She sees the fearfulest thing. Quote, Michael riding on the grey mare with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet, unquote. The mystic vision completely unnerves her. She feels sure that, quote, we will not see him again, unquote. When she wants to bless the son, the words stick in her throat. Quote, I tried to say Godspeed you, but something choked the words in my throat, unquote, as she tells her daughter. And the sequel justifies her fears. Bartley becomes the last, quote, rider to the sea, unquote, in the family, and the sea can do no more harm in Maurya. It is by all these subtle touches that the dramatist creates the atmosphere of tragic gloom, horror, and mystery in the play. Maurya believes that when these prodigies do conjointly meet, it is the duty of men to fear the gods, embodied in the sea, and not to, quote, tempt, unquote, or challenge them. The atmosphere of the tragedy is created by extensive use of omens, ironies and symbols. The baked bread, the white boards, the new rope have tragic associations. The living and the dead intermingle. The stick that Maurya takes to support her belongs to dead Michael. Bartley is wearing Michael's second shirt. Maurya's words, quote, "It is hard set, we will be surely the day you are down with the rest," unquote, offer an example of tragic irony. The symbolism of the red mare and the grey pony and the ageless terror image of the horse communicates its sense of mystery. The resurrection image, quote, I look up then and crying at the grey pony, and there was Michael upon it with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet, unquote, create in this Celtic drama a universal picture of man surrounded by supernatural forces. Its lyric language and complex symbols raise the drama to tragedy that set the mind wandering from idea to idea, from emotion to emotion, and extend the play from local to universal significance. As to the, quote, clash of wills, unquote, referred to the quoted line, it may be noted that conflict is the soul of drama. No conflict, no action. The action of tragedy is a conflict leading to a catastrophe. This conflict lies between two persons or two groups who represent opposite wills or motives. The hero belongs to one of these contending parties and is worsted in the end. Sometimes this external conflict is accompanied with a conflict between two opposing ideals or forces in the mind of the hero. This is the internal conflict. The plot of Riders to the Sea is simple, brief and almost slight. Here there is no fierce, page 14, conflict between the leading personages and their opposite number. Maurya is no doubt the heroine of the play. There is some clash between her will and that of her son Bartley. When Bartley is intent on crossing the stormy sea to go to the fair, Maurya protests, for she has seen certain portents like the moon closely followed by a star, but Bartley overrides her will. The conflict creates a deep suspense and we await the issue with breathless horror. The climax is reached when Maurya, who went out to bless the sun, returns in horror, weeping and lamenting that all is lost because she had a vision of Michael riding on the grey pony behind Bartley's red mare. The catastrophe is reached when the dead body of Bartley is brought home. Yet, it has got to be noted that the conflict is not consistently worked out and given any prominence by the dramatist. In the long run, the clash that has been emphasized by the dramatist lies between human will and vast malignant force which crushes man irrespective of his virtues and vices. This is fate or chance or immanent will or whatever we may call it. This inscrutable power always works from outside, making man the instrument of design that is its own. Men and women fight in the dark against this unrelenting power and meet with their doom. Thus in the play, we find that Maurya and Bartley do not set themselves willingly against this all-powerful fate appearing as the ever-hungry sea. They are helpless and yet bold sufferers at hands of this cruel power, meeting their fate quote, with courage, never to submit or yield, unquote. This is the tragic vision of life, presented by Singh in the play. The fatalism of the play strikes a note of profound mystery, adding to the horror or awe of the denouement. The conflict between the frail human beings and the vast impersonal force is the most unequal one, and the former go down. Question 5. Show how the atmosphere of Riders to the Sea is filled with a sense of tragic doom, and how the impression is affected by hints and forebodings of the impending calamity, and by the family's faith in a fatalistic conception of life. Or, how does Singh create the tragic atmosphere in Riders to the Sea? Answer. It has been observed by a critic that Riders to the Sea must be ranked as Singh's greatest achievement, and perhaps also as the only true tragedy in modern literature, for it truly cleanses by pity and terror. The play has an elemental theme, the agony of a mother who has to fight with the sea and has lost her 5 sons already. Page 15, and loses the 6th and last one in the play. It has, in spite of its Irish local colour, a universal appeal. It has simple structure with a beginning, middle and end. There are, however, no surprises and problems in the drama. Here expected things happen, and the dramatic interest lies in how things affect the human beings. But the tragic sense is overwhelming. Singh has created a tragic atmosphere which overwhelms the reader with pity and terror. This is mainly the product of awful use of omens, superstitions, premonitions and dramatic ironies. At the very opening of the play, Nora and Kathleen strike the keynote of the tragedy. Quote, she is lying down, God help her, and may be sleeping. Unquote. The characters are at the mercy of the supernatural forces which are of as terrible as Hardy's immanent will. This is the suggestion of a dangerous background, the roar of the sea and the violence of the wind that throws open the half-closed door are foreboding of the calamity that these people have to face. Michael is already drowned in the sea and his clothes have been washed ashore. Nora and Kathleen are trying to identify the clothes. The talks of the sea and the superstitions of these people, their simple faith in God, and the priest build up the anticipations of the tragic doom. Bartley inquires about the rope brought at Connemara. The simple question has bitter associations. The rope made for Michael's funeral is wanted by Bartley, and he is also going to the sea. This is filled with tragic suggestions. The rope, the white boards, the nail, and finally the pig with the black feet come in very naturally, for these form a part of the life of these people. But they have ominous suggestions. It is these details that charge this drama with poetic overtones. Yeats rightly said that Singh loved everything that had edge. It is an irony that the boards will be used to make a coffin for Bartley. There is another irony when Bartley puts on the shirt of Michael. Maurya's words, quote, it is hard set, we will be surely, the day you are drowned with rest, unquote, offer an example of tragic irony. It is her forebodings that make her speak so. Again, when Bartley says that he would be coming again in 2 days, he says the very opposite of what will happen. This is another irony which makes the situation full of fear and mystery. Kathleen forgets to give Bartley bread and Moria forgets to bless him as he goes. These are ominous and suggest the impending calamity. Like premonitions and ironies, these details of superstitious dread build up the atmosphere of mystery and fear. The people of page 16. Aran Islands believe in fate, and they find even in the fall of a leaf or the accidental utterance of a word mysterious forebodings. They believe in the superstition of a star rising against the moon. Moria had the hallucination of dead Michael riding on a grey pony, and she feels certain about the death of Bartley. These people of Aran Islands have the superstitious faith in the saving power of the holy water collected at midnight during the Celtic festival of Samhain. This superstitious dread builds up the atmosphere of mystery and fear. Symbolism plays an important part in the creation of tragic awe and mystery. The symbolism of the red mare and the grey pony and the terror image of the horse communicate its sense of mystery. These are archetypal symbols: the conflict of man with the sea, the giver and taker. Horse signifies power and fear, red pony signifies strength, while grey mare signifies death. The living and the dead intermingle. Quote, "The stick that Moria takes to support her belonged to dead Michael. Bartley is wearing Michael's second shirt. The dropped stitches of the stocking remind us of the three faiths and the thread of life. This is a symbolic use of the number 9. Michael was missing for 9 days. Moria wept for 9 days for a lost son. Moria, recalling the drowning of Patch, reports that she saw 2 women and 3 women and 4 women coming in." Unquote. The symbols permeate the play. They dissolve and combine the tension or opposition to give depth or contrapuntal irony, thus to extend it beyond the bounds of the apparent simplicity of the plot. The resurrection image, quote, "I looked up then, and I crying at the grey pony, and there was Michael upon it with fine clothes on him and new shoes on his feet," unquote, creates the powerful feeling of inescapable fate for the riders to the sea. But this sense of fate is punctuated by the goings-on of the everyday life. Bartley's instructions to his sister to get up weed enough for another cock for the kelp, and grumblings of the old men who are to make the coffin. Thus, saying creates a powerful impression of tragedy by ironies, portents, and superstitions. But the end is calm with all passions spent. The tragedy cleanses by pity and terror. Moria's final resignation, quote, "They are all gone now, and there is not anything more the sea can do to me," unquote, purges the mind of terror and pity and restores it to equilibrium. Within the short compass of a one-act drama, Singh has produced a powerful tragedy. In structure, language and imagery, as well as in its supreme economy, it has the quote, "felt authority," unquote, of great drama. Continued in the next file.